I'm Johnny Stausholm from Norway, and welcome to the Ohio RAAM show.
And this is the Ohio RAAM show, a show about cycling and ultra cycling, and I'm Lee Kreider, the host of the show for today. Maria's not with us. She's out doing something else, and she'll be back with us again for the next show. And thank you, Johnny Stausholm, for that introduction. Johnny's from Norway. He rode in the Race Across America in 2017. We had him on the show last year, and I believe that's show number 142, if you'd like to look that up. And the show is sponsored by time stations 41 and 42 in Oxford and Blanchester, Ohio, time stations in the Race Across America. We've got some happy news and then some sad news to tell you. First of all, we're very happy to report that after 29 years of partnership, that Stephen Beverling, who has been on the show a number of times, and his partner Brian have gotten married. At last, they changed the laws in Australia, and they were able to celebrate this happy event, and we wish them many years of happiness. The sad story is that after a long illness, Anders Tesgaard of Denmark has died. You recall he was hurt in an accident in 2016. He's been in a coma ever since, contracted pneumonia, and died there in Denmark. We wish his family condolences and a great loss to the ultra cycling community. And we want to do a shout out to Gary Solomon, who does a show called Laid Back Bike Reports. It's a show about recumbents, two-wheel recumbents, three-wheel recumbents, human-powered vehicles, and even a amphibious recumbent. If you're interested in bents, have a bent, like to learn the latest things that are happening in the bent world, I would invite you to take a look at Gary's show. He uses much the same technology as we do here, only he uses it, I have to say, a lot better, and I have learned a lot from watching Gary's show. If you'd like to follow him, just go to the show notes, which is right below this video, and you will see a link to Laid Back Bike Report. And while we're talking about the show notes, you'll not only find a link there to Laid Back Bike Report, you will find show notes for today's guests. And today's guests, Team Phenomenal Hope, started a few years ago. We had them on the show very early on in their lives, and we have followed them since. They have grown as they have tried to raise money and awareness for pulmonary hypertension research. They have created a mixed team this year to ride in the Race Across America, Team PHab, Team PHab, and they include my good friend Sarah Matthews from Australia, and we're happy to have her back, and then Tommy Vansteenkiste from Denmark, who will be the male partner in this mixed team. Also on the show, we'll have Wendy, the sister of Tommy, who is a victim of the disease of pulmonary hypertension, and she's also their media coordinator. Hey, every team ought to have a media coordinator. She's been such a great help in helping me get this show together, made it easy for me. And also Stephen Quinlan, who is their crew chief. Around the world we go again, from here to Australia to Belgium and back again, Team PHab. Well, folks, it is 5 a.m. here in the United States. It is 11 a.m. in Belgium, and it is 9 p.m. in Australia. Did I get that right, everybody?
Yeah.
More or less? Yeah. Okay. So who is it that had to get up early to do this show? It is me, and I'm glad to do that so we could get this team on, Team PHab. And I want to talk to Sarah first. Sarah, it's so
Hello,
good to
Lee.
see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
I was chatting with Sarah before we went in the air. The last time she was on the show with us, she had just got out of the hospital from a horrific accident. We're not going to go into all that. In the show notes, which you see below this video, if you're on the OhioRAAMshow.com website, I will put a link to that former show. You can see Sarah. and learn about her accident. But she's my miracle girl. And
Thank
Sarah,
you.
we're so glad to see you with us here this morning.
No worries, Lee. Lovely to talk to you again.
Well, it's always good to talk to you. And your teammate is you're in Australia. Your teammate is over here in Belgium. Tommy, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
And this, Tommy, is the very first trip the Ohio RAM show has ever made to Belgium. I don't know how we missed this before, but this is our first trip there. So glad to have you with us. Also with us today is your crew chief, Stephen. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks.
And we have another member of your team, Wendy, also in Belgium, which is Tommy's sister, I find out. Wendy, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
And Wendy is the media person. We'll be talking to Wendy in a little bit. So, Sarah, how did this team come about?
Well, I've known Patricia since 2014. So the first time I did Race Across America was in a 4 in 2014. And after we raced and came second, I wanted to do it again and win. And I just hit it off pretty well with Patricia. So she just helped me put the next team together. And we just became friends. She just gave me advice. We just kept in touch. And one day she just turned around and invited me to race for her team. So Team Phenomenal Hope. And it went from there. The thing I had I've always wanted to do Race Across America as a pair. I've done it twice in a 4. My next goal was to do it in a pair. Last year, where I got introduced to other members of Team Phenomenal Hope. One of the riders in my team there was Tommy. We just hit it off pretty well, I'd say, right from the start. So I just reached out to him and said, well, how about doing it in a pair with me? And he was keen. So there we are.
Tommy, tell me about your cycling background.
Yeah, so I actually started cycling here in Belgium, so it's a bit of a culture maybe in Belgium to start cycling. So I started competitive cycling when I was 15, and then I stopped for a while. And as I was riding, I did rides in France mostly, or around here in Belgium. We have, you can ride organized group rides each week, actually from April till September. And then I started following actually Team Phenomenal Hope from 2014, I guess. I think that's the first time they actually joined RAAM or did the RAAM, which got me a bit of interest. And then last year I joined Team Phenomenal Hope. Story comes together with the story of Sarah when I joined. Okay, I got the question from Sarah and already following RAAM a bit, and it was something already in the back of my head to do RAAM maybe once, and that's a bit the story of coming to RAAM for me. So in my background, okay, I did some cycling in the past, and I do.
Have you and Sarah had any chance to do much training together as a 2-person team?
Not really, but we are. I still need to set up this virtual ride, so we're gonna look if we can do some virtual training together. And we're also discussing about organizing a weekend to really train, and also with some crew car behind us to get a bit of the feel of RAAM, let's say, and train really on exchanging and doing the shifts. And also I hope that would be a good experience to do indeed. Of course, because of the distance, it's hard to do rides together, but we post each other with trainings. I constantly see beach photos with Sarah riding while I'm freezing here. So so it's very nice and motivating to get those input.
I'm getting trained for the Californian desert, Tommy. That's all.
You've had some heat over there, haven't you, Sarah?
Yeah, it's been pretty warm. Yeah. Tommy, you and I are so different because I have endurance to burn, but I don't have the power.
Yeah.
So I've had to switch from riding. I always ride outdoors. So now I've bought an indoor trainer and I have to ride indoors and increase my power. Whereas it's almost the opposite with you.
So yeah, it's a bit hard to do really long rides outside because it's going to start raining at one point. It's a bit of a different tactic as Sarah is taking, but that might be an advantage if we get to RAAM. So we don't have to be the same, I guess. We'll see how that...
I've changed. I've gone from riding outdoors, so I'm now going to try and do all my training inside. Well, most of it inside to increase my power because I have endurance to burn, but I don't have the power.
Well, I want to get over to Stephen here, who's going to be your crew chief. Stephen, I understand that this is going to be your first outing as a part of a crew and as a crew chief. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's going to be quite a challenge, and I don't know exactly what to expect, but I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, we're going to go over to Leeds in a couple of weeks. So I hope to gather some crucial and very valuable information there. So,
Stephen, tell me about your crew. How are they configured? How are you going to, what's your logistics as far as vehicles?
well, so far we have been discussing all kinds of setups already, and for the crew members, we're almost settled. We are with 6 people for the moment. We're still looking for 2 extra people. We have a physiotherapist. We have a bike mechanic. We have some drivers and navigators already.
I'm going to go into Wendy, which is Tommy's sister here. You are a victim of pulmonary hypertension, are you not?
Yes, I am. I got my diagnosis in 2009. And actually, pulmonary hypertension is a rare disease. And it causes the pulmonary arteries that become more narrow and strained, which is affecting the blood circle of the heart to the lungs, and eventually leads to heart failure. As I said, it's a rare disease, but though there are 25 million people in the world who are victims of pulmonary hypertension, and the biggest problem of it is getting a diagnosis, as it is a rare disease and symptoms are very common. So mostly it takes 2 years before someone gets the diagnosis. But the problem is, in those 2 years, when you're not treated, there are already 50% of the people who die. So we're running against the time of diagnosis. So, and that's why Team Phenomenal Hope is creating awareness.
So you were diagnosed in 2009. How long was it before symptoms appeared and you got your diagnosis?
I'm one of the victims who had her diagnosis in 2 years.
What were your symptoms, Wendy?
Symptoms are breathlessness. At the beginning they were very vague. So this is a breathlessness. You're tired. You get dizziness, a chest discomfort, things like that. Were mostly that the doctors think of asthma or other common diseases. At the point that I got my diagnosis, I was already in heart failure.
Well, there's 2 people I am aware of who are familiar with this disease. First of all, Lisa Brunkhorst, who is key in our time station 41 there in Oxford. She was a critical care nurse, pulmonary patients, and she tells the same story as my pulmonologist when I mentioned this to him. He had a fellowship in which he studied this disease, and he tells me that at that time, there was absolutely nothing they could offer. In fact, he was doing some investigational drugs. But there now are treatments, are there not, Wendy?
Now, yes. I think back in the 90s, there was just one treatment, which was a Flolan pump. Year 2002, I think, the first oral medicaments appeared. The problem is there is still no cure. There are in PH, there are different types of PH, and there is one type who is curable with an operation, but all the others are not curable. There is no cure for it. So the most common way to treat it is now to get it stable. But as it is progressive, at a certain point, you will need a transplantation of the lungs. And mostly they say that's about 7 years.
So Wendy, you're the media coordinator. Are you getting the word out?
Well, we have created, together with Stephen, a website. We have an Instagram account, a Twitter account, and a Facebook page. So the idea is to let people follow our road to RAAM, on the moment that RAAM is going on. I will stay here in Belgium, and I will follow them from here on and make sure the stories that I get from them will go on air. Yeah.
And that website, you'll find it on the show notes. Well, Wendy, we wish you very well your struggle with this disease. Again, there is a place on the website where you can donate to Team PHab? Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Team Fab. PHab.
Well, I've seen the name, but that I just never hit me before that you're talking about Team Fab. Well, Team Fab, you're fabulous, and
thank you.
We wish you well, Sarah. Good to see you again.
You too, Lee. We'll keep in touch because I love talking to you.
Been friends for a while, and we really appreciate you, Tommy. Good luck to you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Keep them honest, will you?
Yeah.
Good luck.
I will.
Good luck.
I will.
You got to let them know that you're in charge of this operation, and they're just out there to ride. And Wendy, stay in touch. Keep me updated on what's going on.
Yeah, I will send you the link to the site.
Well, thank all of you for being here and cooperating with this time scheduling situation. I'd like the people who believe in the flat earth to explain to me why I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do this show. But at any rate, we're glad to have all of you with you. Good luck. We'll be seeing you here in Ohio, we hope.
You will. Take care, Lee.
You.
Bye-bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Okay, thank you, Team Fab. Thank you for being on the show. And we want to thank all of those of you who watched the show. We appreciate that a great deal. On the next show, Maria will be back with us, and we're going to have John Hoopengarner from up here in Ohio. And he has quite an interesting story to tell, one that amused me a great deal, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. He has a great sense of humor, can laugh at himself. With that, we'll see you all again in about 10 days. Goodbye.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.